All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Dub Nug Show, where you get your cannabis news, reviews, and interviews. Today we have a couple different stories. We have weather stories. We have should you smoke while you're sick, and local dispensaries operating with a license but without the city's consent. So we'll get more into that. Before we do, make sure you go up and you look at the cannabis reviews that I do on different products. They are age restricted, so make sure you have a YouTube account and you're logging in, and make sure you give that one a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. And without further ado, let's get into the news. All right, out in California, there has been a wicked storm brewing for the past few days, maybe even a week or so now. It's been high winds and flooding that has caused pretty much mudslides and all kind of really crazy weather. And what that's been doing to the cannabis industry is causing washouts. So complete crops have been being destroyed from the heavy winds and the heavy rain, and it's causing road closures, so the people who work at the fields can no longer get to the fields to harvest the crop, trim the crop, process the crop, whatever they have to do, they can't get to it. Well, it's causing a lot of farms not to be able to get their work done, which may result in them having to trash the crop, because if you get too much molds and stuff and you're not able to do anything about it, all that crop's gone. So, which may lead to, in the future, cannabis dispensaries not having enough weed, which will make prices go up. But you have a cool picture of the actual storm going on. You can see a pretty big cyclone going on here. So they've been getting hit pretty hard. Back in 2018, they had a storm that caused severe mudslides that killed 23 people and injuring many, many more. It looks basically like a monsoon, one person said. Despite the rivers raging right now, glass house facilities aren't in any low-lying areas. Okay, so some grow houses aren't necessarily in the flood zone, so they're not really that worried about it. There's a lot of power outages. There is a silver lining because not everybody got hit. Emerald Triangle, which consists of Humboldt, Mendocino, and the Trinity counties. They're all pretty much self-sufficient and run without electricity, so most of them are like homesteader types, so they're not really going to have any issues when it comes to severe weather because they're used to this shit. So it appears that in Napa County and the surrounding areas, they're all good. So they were minimal damage, where most of everybody else seems like they got kind of minimal damage. So it seems like there's only a few places that got hit really hard, where Sonoma's having a pretty rough. That's what it looks like. Nataline DeLapp, executive director of Humboldt County Growers Association, said on Monday afternoon that some growers were experiencing wind damage stemming from some low-tech infrastructure. Plastic getting ripped off of hoop houses, for example, and roadways were closed because of downed trees. But it's not all as catastrophic as the news makes it sound, she added. Many of our people live off the grid, so the loss of power is negligible. We don't have any significant landslides or flooding. Things could change, but right now we're doing okay. So, for the most part, the crazy weather in California, as far as the cannabis culture goes, seems to be okay. If it weren't going to be okay, then you could have high prices because there's a shortage in cannabis, but it seems like there's an abundance of cannabis right now in the dispensaries, so that's why the supply is so high, and the demand really isn't as high as it was definitely during COVID when everybody was just hanging out smoking. I know a lot of people that actually have quit smoking since then. With that happening, you have a lot more cannabis sitting on the shelf, so the price has to come down. So we're getting really cheap cannabis, but if a lot more dispensaries got closed down, say they're not able to sell all their cannabis, so they have to start selling it so cheap that they can't pay their bills and they ended up going out of business, that would mean your cannabis would end up being more pricey because there's select few growers that now have to supply everybody with cannabis. So there is a balance there. So we'll see how all this comes out. But now on to, should you use cannabis when you have a cold or flu? Basically what this is saying is a lot of the underlying symptoms of a flu or cold have to do with chronic smoking. So like, you're going to get a cough, you're going to have a sore throat. So if you're smoking, that's just going to make your cough worse and have a worse sore throat. So it does say, however, if you do take edibles or a tincture, that's way better, because it really only focused on the respiratory issues that come with smoking in a cold. If you stay away from the smoke part with cannabis, you are good to go as far as being sick. There is an interesting thing in this article that talks about when it comes to vaping, research shows that it lowers the risk of chronic respiratory symptoms when compared to smoking. One study said vaporizers users were 40% less likely to report coughing, phlegm, and tightness of chest for those who smoke cannabis. If you do want to inhale cannabis, use a vaporizer. But honestly, I would just take edibles or make a tincture and some tea, because that would actually be like a nice soothingness, you know what I mean? On the upside, a lot of the terpenes in cannabis actually can be used for soothing effects, like being able to go to sleep. So if you don't want to use cough medicine, you can have a high myrcene and chirophyllene and linalool strain that's going to be very sedative and you'll want to go to sleep. So you can do that, or get something with high CBN. That's going to make you want to go to sleep. And mainly a lot of the issues come from people who smoke chronically. If you are a multiple time a day user, it's going to be a little bit harder to smoke weed while you're sick, because you're just going to, one, prolong that sickness. You're going to be more uncomfortable while you are sick, because something else that this article doesn't mention that I thought about is if you are sick, you're germy, right? And you go and you say you hit a bong or something like that. That bong now is going to have all those germs in it. So now you have to go clean the bong and you're just exchanging back and forth. Like, it's just more work. So just minimize the smoking. Vape if you absolutely have to. Just take some gummies, take some topicals, and just hang out. You're sick. You know what I mean? Something that was very interesting in this article, though, they found that for a brief moment, people who don't smoke cannabis, for a brief moment after they do smoke, they get an expansion in lung capacity. So they're actually able to take deeper breaths, which could alleviate a shortness of breath. But that only comes from people who don't smoke cannabis regularly. I don't really know how much that's going to help somebody, because I doubt somebody who doesn't smoke cannabis is going to want to smoke cannabis while they're sick. So that's just my thought anyway. Since the flu season's coming up and we're pretty much swinging into it, it's been a kind of a mild year so far, because I have a feeling at the end of January into February, it's going to get real cold and real nasty. For some local news, this is more about me a little bit. 2 dispensaries open in Mount Clemens despite city saying they never issued permits. So this one's kind of funny, and it's not really lining up on my screen because they have it on the opposite side. So whatever. But basically what happened is the state allowed these 2 dispensaries. So hang on. Let's go. This is what happened. Mount Clemens is pretty small, and it only is allowing a select few licenses. So like 2 or 3 licenses at most. There's a ton of people in the surrounding area that want to get into this. So there was a lot of contention with who was going to get the license and how it was going to look, because there's a lot of political favors and corruption. I mean, it is Michigan. They were holding off with basically giving any licenses to anyone. Although there's been Pleasantries who built 3 different facilities that you can see from the freeway where the old Gibraltar Trade Center was. They basically bought that up. So Pleasantries, they opened their dispensary and they are selling the stuff out of their dispensary with a Michigan license, but they don't have the approval from the state or from the city of Mount Clemens. So now there's kind of a debate going back and forth and lawsuits coming here real soon, because what are they going to do? One's clearly operating, making money right now. If they don't operate, they still have to pay all the bills. So it's basically the state saying that you're not allowed to make money, but pay me. And it's just a simple sign the license and let them operate. They are literally already in business. They are already operating, but yet, and the state recognizes it, but the city won't. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out. I'm going to keep tabs on this one, so it's kind of unfortunate that you can't see it. That's pretty much what I got today for the Dub Nug Show. I'm going to do quite a few cannabis reviews. I picked up a couple of strains to review. I got this Binksy luxury cannabis flower. It's called Gummy Buns. So that's kind of cool. And I got some uplifted Georgia pie. So that should be a nice peachy, I'm expecting. So definitely looking forward to that. Make sure you like and subscribe so you can see when I do go and do those strain reviews. I'm working on doing them very soon and trying to get them out as soon as possible. I have another one that I'm recording right now, and that will be out as soon as I can. I'm trying to get them out weekly, but there's a little bit more that goes into the strain reviews other than these little talking heads and these news. I can sit down and do these pretty quickly. The strain reviews actually take a little bit more time. But other than that, thank you guys for watching. Comment, like, subscribe. Keep tuning in. Spread the word. Give me a share. Thanks for watching the Dub Nug Show. I'll see you guys later. Peace out.